Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's the Masked Man, and today I brought. I hate when I botch the intro, man. I'm probably gonna leave this in. Whatever. Okay. Yo, how's it going? Just introduce yourself. Say hi, Roger.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Rogersbase here. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. I'm glad we're actually able to sit down and do a one-on-one, because after doing that Manga of the Year stream, everybody was like, Masked Man needs to talk more. And I'm like, we'll get to it. We'll do a collab eventually. Don't worry. So we're here now.
Yeah. This is me making up for that. So, essentially, I wanted to get Roger aboard because I've kind of seen his interactions on Twitter, and not only that, but he's someone with a lot of experience, I think, when it comes to anime and anime fandoms. And so I think I wanted to kind of get you on board and kind of talk about the anime community as a whole, things that we like, maybe don't like, and things we really despise. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, this is one big therapy video for us and for any other content creator who's ever made an anime video, and basically for anyone who's ever dealt with the toxic fan. So I guess what's like the first thing we should get into, because this is a really broad subject.
Yeah, I mean, like, just before we started recording, we were talking about how we did those worst fan base tier lists, and I think the reason you did that before I did, but what happened was the reason I did mine was because the latest chapter of One Piece came out. At the time of this recording, it's chapter 1000 of One Piece, big milestone.
Right.
And the latest chapter of My Hero Academia came out. Now, are you completely caught up on those series? Like, can I talk about them without
I'm
risk of
caught
spoilers?
up on My Hero. I have not caught up on One Piece.
Okay. Well, I mean,
but
if you're caught up on My Hero, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Basically, what happened was both of those chapters came out. I always do my live reactions or reviews on Sunday, and there was a lot of hype and a lot of build-up behind chapter 1000. So I sit down, I do my live reaction, and I enjoyed the chapter. It was a good chapter of One Piece. It was a very Luffy-centric, without getting into spoilers, kind of chapter.
Okay.
A lot of things happened in it that I would expect from Luffy at this point in the series. And I said on stream, I'm like, man, this is a really good one. I honestly thought there was going to be a big story revelation because it's chapter 1000, but it was good.
Okay.
I said that, and I caught so much flack. People were like, you should have had a much bigger reaction to this. This was a 10 out of 10. GOAT is the greatest of all time. Like, oh my God, One Piece is untouchable. And people were like, oh, you're such a fake One Piece fan. After me just saying that I thought the chapter was good. I didn't even say that it was like a bad chapter.
Wait. Time out. Rogersbase, the man who has, from what I see in his profile picture, is a really dope one. It's like a One Piece pirate with the, I think that's the Super Smash Bros. Thing going through the, called a fake One Piece. Yo, I would body slam any fan who called me like a fake Berserk fan when all I've done is love the series. That's ridiculous. You see, that's always been my gripe with One Piece fans, and I'm so glad, Roger, you started this, because
I mean, well, like I said, we'll definitely
enough
get
is
into
never
it.
enough.
I know, because then
enough is never enough for some fan bases.
The second I got through that, and I was like, all right, whatever, that's fine. Like, I've dealt with One Piece fans, like hardcore. Now, I shouldn't even call them One Piece fans. They're One Piece stans, really. It's people who just like are blind fans no matter what. I've dealt with that for a long time online. I had a lot of criticism of the Whole Cake Island arc. People gave me a lot of flack for it, and it is what it is. Then, following my live reaction to Chapter 1000, I did a live reaction to the newest chapter, My Hero Academia.
Oh, Lord.
Without getting into spoilers for people, because I don't know how far everybody is, I think you and I could both agree, this story arc started off with really high stakes. There was a lot of potential during the story arc, and the way the story arc wrapped up, I would argue, really just removed a lot of the tension and the stakes from the series. And to me, I think it was Alexander who put this tweet out saying, My Hero Academia is a solid 8.5, 7.5 type of series. And what that means is the highs are extraordinarily high, but it always
but the
is
lows
like
are unbearable.
Right. It's one step away from greatness at all times. It's like Horikoshi's about to take the risk, but then I almost feel like because of the fan base, he steps away from it and goes back to what we already know, right? He relies on a popular character coming back, or like it's teased that, everything's going to change from this point. The villains are going to win. And then, no, the heroes win at the end of the day anyway. And we're going to move on, and it's the next story arc. So I had mentioned that. during my live reaction to that chapter, and the amount of hate I was getting, not only on YouTube when I re-uploaded the reaction, but on Twitter, especially from My Hero Academia fans, being like, how could you say this? You're just an MHA hater. And I'm the one who's like regularly doing stuff with Anaki, regularly asking for the MHA propaganda. I want to be fed positive things about the series because I don't want to be overly negative. I want to be able to see both sides. And I enjoy My Hero. I wouldn't keep reading it if I didn't enjoy it.
Totally, exactly, right.
And so between both of those things happening, I basically went on Twitter, this was on like the 3rd, and I said, look, I'm dropping the My Hero manga in terms of doing videos for a while. I'm going to enjoy it on my own, but apparently because I'm not enjoying it enough, I'm not going to do reaction videos. And I went on this whole rant saying that I feel like personally criticism is pretty much dead in terms of manga Twitter and fandoms nowadays. That there aren't really any shades of gray allowed. That every chapter of your favorite series has to be a 10 out of 10 or it's absolute garbage. And I wrote, gone are the days of liking a chapter but disliking and questioning a part of it. It's all or nothing nowadays. You're either a fan or you're a hater. And then that went off on a whole
pretty much
tangent.
It's true, because one of the things that, and this has always been my gripe, is with the anime community is exactly what you pointed out. My dad, he always taught me that the most important thing in life is balance. No, he's not Thanos, but the concept of balance is important, you know, because you swing too far left, you swing too far right, and you often miss what's right there in the middle, like right in front of your eyes. And one of the things is when it comes to a series like My Hero Academia, and this is me from observation, is when all you've read is My Hero, or My Hero and a few other things, your standard for what's a 10 out of 10 is different. So when someone who comes along and, now I don't want to gas up Roger, but for a living talks about anime and manga, and they go about reading many different things, I think it's fair for you to maybe just shut up and listen to whatever thoughts they might have. Now, if you disagree, I think the proper response is, instead of calling them just a hater or dismissing them, because this is what I was talking about earlier with the whole it's us versus them, right? If you're with us, you're a fan. If you're against us in any small type of way, you're a hater. Don't respond that way. Be able to really have the ability to voice your thoughts. And that's all I've ever asked for from fandoms. If you disagree with the take of mine, be able to explain to me why. Don't just call something overrated. Don't call something trash. Don't call someone a stan or a hater unless you can really voice your opinion as to why you think a certain way. So, like, if I'm doing this 30-minute video as to why I, through means of analysis, reading, whatever, I think this certain way, and all you tell me is I'm a hater, like, it's just like, really, bro? 30 minutes of me speaking, and that's all you have to say. And it's one of the most discouraging things that comes from a fan base, because you don't drive more people to your fan base. You push people away from it.
Absolutely.
And in a weird way, you're gatekeeping without even realizing it. Like, whenever I praise a series, now obviously on Twitter I like to troll One Piece and Gintama fans quite a bit.
Look, I never mind. Your tweets are fire, so I never mind. I
appreciate it.
That's the thing, is when you're a true fan of a series, not to gatekeep or whatever, going back to what you were just saying, but I feel like if you actually like a series, it doesn't matter what people say. You know what I mean? Like, for example, this is not an anime-related thing, but I like the Disney movie Frozen. I've always liked Frozen. Now, anytime I voice on Twitter or anywhere else, or I sing Frozen songs, people are like, that's a little kid's movie. How do you like Frozen? It's trash. You know what I don't do, though? I don't read those and go, well, guess I hate Frozen now. I am confident in what I like, and I like Frozen. So if people are trashing on One Piece or whatever, that doesn't take from my enjoyment of One Piece. So I feel like a lot of the time, the people who really get angry about it are people who don't know what to like. They want to be told what to like. And if they're told by somebody that they respect that this thing is really good, and they see somebody who they aren't as familiar with saying that it's not good, they immediately go on the defensive. And I think there's an even bigger rise of this right now because of what's going on in the world, right? Like, we're dealing with hard times. And I think there's just a lot of people who want to enjoy things for enjoying them, and they don't want to discover flaws in, like, their favorite piece of media. They're looking at it as, like, escapism. But ultimately, I feel like the toxic positivity that we see from a lot of people online, where everything is a 10 out of 10, everything is so good, that's ultimately going to breed haters. Exactly what you said. Like, it's going to be pushing more people away. It's just this endless cycle where, You know, if you're overly positive, you're going to create haters for the series naturally who think it's undeserving. And if you're overly hating on the series, you're going to find people who are overly praising that series because they want to balance the whole thing out.
Yeah, and I've never personally I've never understood it. Period. That train of thought, because I myself throughout 2020 and now starting 2021, I've read so many different things, and I think if I had this mentality that my series that I stan is the only 10 out of 10 thing of all time, and I can't enjoy anything else, and there's no legitimate criticism to it whatsoever, then all I really do is take away my ability to like other series.
Exactly.
Like, I've made it clear, and I'm about to spark the meme again, because now everybody memes this for me, but like, Berserk, Vagabond, and Pun Pun, and now here's everybody watching, oh, he said it. For me, those three, if I had to pick, like, what manga is about, and the best manga has to offer, those would be the first three series I go to. Not everybody would, I understand that, and I'm fine with it. But it's because those are all three series that I think are beautifully illustrated. They have beautiful philosophical and emotional messages that can stick with an audience. And I think they're just really, really well done mangas. But I don't then read JJK, MHA, Naruto, and then completely discredit everything that does.
Right.
And it's vice versa.
Right.
Because I feel like there's always these straw man arguments made against a specific type of demographics fan base. So we brought this up earlier. Certain seinen fans look at shonen fans and think, oh, they're just casuals who only like mainstream stuff and don't know what they're talking about. And I think they say that because they see certain takes from those fan bases being a little wild, to be fair. And then there's the other way around. So
yeah, what I was going to say is that I think the interesting thing is I was getting a lot of that for a time because I mostly only review shonen stuff, even stuff that like leans more seinen, even though it's still shonen, like Attack on Titan. Like all the stuff that I review ultimately is still shonen. And so I would get constantly whenever I'd say, oh, I'm not a huge fan of Vinland Saga, or like I don't really like Berserk the same way that everybody else likes it. People would be like, well, you just don't like seinen. And it's like, well, no, many of my favorite things of all time are seinen. I love Cowboy Bebop. I like Paranoia Agent. I like Samurai Champloo. Like, there are seinens that I really enjoy. It just so happens to be that, like, it's the right type of seinen for me, you know? And
gotcha.
It's all about,
yeah, everyone has different tolerance levels because certain seinens, they're very graphic, they're very gore, nudity heavy, and that could be a huge turnoff for people. It's understandable.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think it's about, if you're a content creator, right, it's about making and consuming what makes you happy. Right? If you do that, you're always going to win. So I would say to people who are hardcore stans or fans, like, don't watch reactions if you want. If you don't want to hear opinions of your favorite people, don't watch reactions, basically. Because reactions are all about our own opinions. Like, don't watch reviews if you don't want to hear criticism. I think people who do that are complaining about the very thing that they chose to engage with in the first place. You know, and that serves nobody.
Right. Totally. I think the big interesting thing, too, is, and you talked about it, and we brought this up at the very beginning, but I wanted to kind of run back to it. It's the whole criticism is dead. And I think people mistake criticizing a series versus someone's enjoyment of it.
Right.
And here's what I mean by that. I enjoy Dragon Ball Z a ton. It's my childhood story, and I love it. And I have every right to love that series. No one can tell me otherwise. Same with Naruto, GTO, Chainsaw Man, JJK. Like, I love those series. I enjoy reading them. I have fun with them. But all because I enjoy them does not mean I now have to look at them blindly and not criticize them whatsoever.
Of course.
And it's this weird thing where it's as if if you enjoy a series, then you're incapable of criticizing it, because if you criticize it, then you're not truly enjoying it. And it's like, no, I can enjoy a series and still love it whilst having the ability to point out its flaws, because at the end of the day, I'm just showing things that I wish could have been done with this series.
Exactly.
Because I saw its potential at the beginning.
And if you're somebody who's criticizing your favorite series, isn't that more of a sign that you love it? Because you're criticizing it to be like, this is what I deem the peak of this series, right? Whether it's like pre-time skip One Piece if you're a One Piece fan or whatever, right? Your favorite story arc, your favorite thing about it. If something isn't living up to the potential that you know the author can actually pull off, naturally you're going to want to criticize it because you want more of the really, really good stuff.
Right. Which is why I think the big thing with Berserk, Hunter x Hunter, and Vagabond fans is we're always on about the hiatus. That's
Sure.
because we all understand, like, man, if this series came out more regularly, oh, like, it would be so much better for us as
a
fans,
Hunter
but it
fan,
just
believe
doesn't.
me, I feel your pain. So.
Oh yeah, it sucks, but
Yeah.
and what I find all of this, and the reason why I'm bringing all of this up to be so odd to me at times, is I remember back when I was younger, liking anime in the first place was an oddity. Like, I was always one of 5, one of 7 in all the schools I was in terms of liking anime.
Sure.
So then we go online, and now we meet millions of other people who like anime and manga as well. Now, obviously, there's lots of different animes and mangas, so whichever anime and manga you like may be different from someone else, but I've never understood such this hostile, aggressive tone when it comes to discussing animes and mangas, especially once they're being compared. Because it seems like it's impossible to praise a series or to criticize a series without it having to be compared to something else, when hardly any anime manga series is comparable. Now, on my channel, I do my top 10 mangas, my top 20 mangas, and honestly, I hate doing those videos sometimes, but people want to know what I think is the 10 best stuff that I've read.
Right.
And I do it because it's a great recommendation video. Like, here's what I think is the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
Here you go. But then don't request that video if you're gonna whine and complain about what I have in. You know how many mangas there are out? Like, if your manga was in my top 40, you know how many mangas there are out there for me to say, okay, here are the 40 best that I think there are.
And I'm sure
It's
there
insane.
are hundreds, like literally hundreds of manga that neither of us even know about that are probably incredible
Exactly.
in Japan that we've never even heard of before. So I always find that to be so strange, and so many times people will like fall back on the semantics of it, right? You do like a top 10, top 20 manga video, and people are like, well, that's just your opinion. It's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. It's my video. Obviously, it's my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, people want you to title your video my personal picks of my top 10 favorite manga, instead of just being like, no, my top 10 manga. It should go without saying that if you're watching someone who's an opinion-based channel, that naturally they are going to be sharing their opinion of the series. If you can't remove yourself from that topic, right? If you think that this person is speaking the gospel, like, go outside. Seriously, like, go do something else. Don't sit here and try to consume anime and manga content and take other people's opinions as objective facts, because you're always going to be disappointed by something.
Right, and I thank you for bringing that up, because this is what in the end hurts my persona as the masked man. Is I'm known for being pretty critical and analytical when it comes to the way that I read certain stories. Like, I try, and what I mean by that is not in a sense of superiority, but I really try to get down to, okay, what is it about this story that made me enjoy it? Like, what is it from a writer standpoint that they did well? And I've done videos where I've done, one of my personal favorites is how to write the perfect antagonist, because I took, for me, what was the greatest antagonist in all of anime and manga, and I picked down, okay, what do they have in common structurally? How were they built up? How much time was given for proper build-up? What themes were used? Basically, all of the different things that go into writing a really good antagonist. So many times people come to me as the person who, if they recommend me a manga, right? It's as if they're dying to know my word as if it's law.
Exactly.
Right? So if I say this series is 10 out of 10, then woohoo, their day's been made, awesome. And I understand it, when you're supportive of someone's content, and for me it's super humbling. But then what really hurts is when I'm like, okay, personally, I thought this, and that was not that enjoyable. I thought the pacing, the lack of this or that really made it hard for me to invest myself in the story. And then the hardcore stands of that fan base lose it. And I mean lose it, if my word meant more than anybody else's.
Which is ludicrous, because at the end of the day, you, me, literally anyone making content online, we're just normal people. Like, we're not, I think this is so weird, like people that deify mangaka or deify like content creators. It's like, our word is not law. We're just like you guys. The only difference is we have a bigger audience. But like, what we say and what you say have completely the same value. So
right. And at the end of the day, what matters is who can express it better.
Exactly.
Like that's what it goes down to.
Exactly.
For sure. And so I think the biggest oddity for it as well when you go into it is then when hype plays a factor. And this is where I've spoken about this before, and people, they can misconstrue what I mean by this, so I'll be very careful with it. But many times I wait for the right moment to get into a series or to talk about it, because I understand that in the moment when a chapter happens and people see big explosion, big fight, oh, this is awesome, this is great. And then the thought of things change as time continues. I think a great example is the Star Wars prequel trilogy. Movies 1, 2, and 3. I remember when those things first came out, they were the biggest insult to the franchise. And as time went on, movie number 3 is considered like one of the best, if not the best in the trilogy, which for me it is. So then you look at animes and mangas, and currently, for instance, if you say anything about JJK, MHA, Black Clover,
JoJo.
It's a death sentence. JoJo's, it's a death sentence. But if you talk about certain other series that time has passed, and depending on also the demographic of the fan base and how old they are, also definitely plays into a factor in how large the fan base is as well, you get different reactions for it, right? And it's interesting to see that.
Not to cut you off, too, but that's okay. Like going back to one you even just brought up is JJK and how things can evolve over time. Because I did a video talking about Jujutsu Kaisen at the end of last year, where I was like, you should really be checking out this series. It's great. If you aren't already familiar with Jujutsu Kaisen, I highly recommend it. And then that wasn't even the end of that was the end of 2019 is when I did that video talking about Jujutsu Kaisen.
Goodness, he was way ahead of the curve.
I was super early. This was like when the first volume came out. And I loved it. I mean, I was a big fan of that series. And at the time, right, not a lot of people were covering it. And so all the comments, even when I brought up a couple criticisms, all the comments were like, it's so cool that you're into this. Like, oh God, this series is awesome. Can't wait for you to read more. And then now if I do anything Jujutsu Kaisen related, it's like, oh, did you not read the most recent chapter? Like, what did you think of this anime episode? Did you watch all of this? Did you consume this? Wasn't this the best thing of all time? Oh no, of course you didn't watch it because you're a One Piece stan. And it's just like, you see this fan base now has like quote unquote power, right? And so they want to try to use that to get more people into it, when in reality, like, if you're just kind of vibing and quiet and enjoying your series, people are going to be much more likely to fall in love with it than if you're hammering it home, trying to be like, no, this is the best thing and everything you like sucks.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I've said when this Chainsaw anime comes out, I'm not going to talk about Chainsaw Man anymore.
I can't even imagine.
I'm done. Yeah. I'm done. I mean, I'll probably only talk about the part 2 manga, and that's it. But the Chainsaw Man fan base right now is sort of kind of vibing from what I've seen, especially, at least from my perspective, because I talk a lot of praise about it, and I enjoy it, other than when it comes to the Makima simps, which I'm still crusading against.
Same. Yo, high five, my man. This is why I subscribe to you. Absolutely.
Appreciate it. But it really is, man, my reaction to it all is, I understand it, but I don't see, for me, it's counterproductive. Yeah. That's the proper term. I've never understood, me personally, because of the way I was raised and I guess the way life has always pushed me, thank the Lord, I've never understood doing things that aren't productive.
Right.
I've never understood it, because enjoyment at the end of the day is a level of productiveness, because you get, especially if you balance it out, right? You take time from all the stress in the world to just free your mind, relax, recharge your battery, and then attack the world again once you need to. But getting consumed in it to the point where, like, when I get into a manga and an anime, I do it because I get the experience of enjoying the anime, enjoying it with other people, new people I can meet, and some animes and mangas provide messages that can impact my life positively.
Sure.
Even though they're fictional stories, they are stories at the end of the day. And hearing something that can be inspirational, that can teach you some sort of wisdom, is great. And so when you can have such an amazing positive ability to take away stuff from it, and yet you just then go on the internet and just ruin it all, like, what are you doing with your life? That's like my reaction to it. It's like, there are things about a series that can be praised, but when you're constantly just going on about it in a very distasteful manner, it makes people who want to praise those small things not even do it.
Exactly.
And so that's partially why I say, maybe it's a good thing that Berserk and Vagabond do have hiatus, because if Berserk had like a constant release, I'd probably get annoyed at the constant praise, like week after week. So, you know, our fan base is depressed. I think that's the proper word. We're depressed. We're not vibing. We're just struggling. That's the proper word. Our fan base is struggling. But
it's funny. I'd be curious to know, like, what some of the fandoms that you put in Wholesome are. Because the funny thing that, again, you brought up earlier that I keep going back to is, like, that time sort of heals all wounds, right? That it's the kind of thing that, like, you sort of forget over time about the toxicity in certain fan bases. And over time, certain fan bases really start to level out. Because I don't know, like, what you guys had in the Wholesome tier. But, like, for me, most of the ones that were in this tier for me were series that were really popular sort of when I was growing up, like, or on Toonami or on Adult Swim. And so, like, I'm looking up here, I've got Hajime no Ippo, I've got Yu Yu Hakusho, Deadman Wonderland, Samurai Champloo, Paranoia Agent. Like, you never see toxic fans from these fan bases, really. And, like, even the tier underneath that, like, vibing, I had Trigun, Afro Samurai, The Gray Man, Eudeka 7, like, a lot of stuff that's been out for years and years and years. And there aren't Cowboy Bebop's in there as well. Like, there aren't very many new series that ended up in that tier for me. I feel like a lot of the time you look at these newer series and, like you said, people are just constantly going at each other's throats. Constantly. You've got, like, each of the Shonen series, whether it's like My Hero Academia or One Piece or Demon Slayer or whatever, if it's not selling enough, if the series isn't doing as well as the other series that you're reading, suddenly all those other series are trash. When that's not the case at all.
Can I please get this out of the way?
Please.
If people don't understand this concept, oh my lord, marketability is not the same thing as quality. Please understand this.
Yes.
Some stories are pandered to more of an adult audience that require specific things. Therefore, it's hard to sell that to as large of a demographic as, say, Demon Slayer, My Hero, and like JJK.
Sure.
If you were able to sell to an audience from 11 and up versus a manga that has to sell to 18 and up, you're probably going to make more sales.
Absolutely.
Especially when you have a brand new anime adaptation, because anime tends to be the big thing that pushes promotion. So please understand that if your manga gets more sales, phenomenal, great. Lovely for the author, more so the company, because I don't know how much authors really get paid in comparison to those companies, but awesome for the people behind it. But that does not automatically make your series untouchable and no fault of criticism.
Right. And vice versa.
It just means that it's sellable.
I was going to say vice versa, too. Like, I think so many people, like Demon Slayer, for example, this is from my own experience, so just take this with a grain of salt. But I found that, like, as somebody that primarily covers things like One Piece, My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, people are so quick to just dog on Demon Slayer people.
Exactly.
And dog on Demon Slayer fans, where ultimately I feel like most of the mainstream Demon Slayer fans, like most of what I interact with on Twitter, is either them having to defend themselves and be like, yeah, we understand the series isn't perfect, but, like, we're just enjoying it. Or, like you said, sort of falling back on the, well, we sell the most, so, like, who cares about the criticism kind of thing. But I do feel on the whole it's less for Demon Slayer than I would say maybe any other modern shonen right now. Maybe Haikyuu is the only other one I could think of that's sort of on the level of Demon Slayer. I think all the other ones, like One Piece, My Hero, whatever, are all pretty toxic.
Oh, no, yeah, for sure. No, for sure. And I'm glad you brought that up, though, because, again, we've talked about, like, the both sides of it. And Wes and I really talked about this, too, is there is the people who will praise a series overly and no criticism applies. But there's also that side that will just trash on it for being popular. And at the end of the day, neither one does a benefit. Neither one does. Especially the people who just trash on it for being popular. But going back to the tier list thing, in Wholesome, Wes and I put Yu Yu Hakusho. I have no experience. I'm going to get into... I'm going to get into Yu Yu after I finish Code Geass. We put Vinland Saga in Wholesome.
You put Vinland Saga in Wholesome?
They love me.
Well, I mean, see, this is the thing, and I guess this goes back to perspective too, is, you know how you were talking about earlier about like how if you just keep recommending something to somebody, eventually you're just going to turn them off of recommending it. So for me, I was somebody who, I was interested in Vinland Saga when it first came out, you know, I was like, oh, this seems like a fascinating kind of thing. It's like Vikings, this is cool. And everybody was saying, oh, you got to watch Vinland Saga. So I kept saying, oh, I'll definitely get to it. But at the time, I was in the midst of covering, you know, a bunch of other series. I was doing Demon Slayer at the time. I was still covering the Hunter x Hunter manga, trying to catch up. So I had a lot of stuff on my plate. Bleach, too. I was like doing a catch up to Bleach. So I said, I'm going to get to it when I get to it. But rest assured, you know, I'll watch Vinland Saga. It then got to a point where anytime I would upload any type of manga or anime video that wasn't Vinland Saga, even if it was like regular content, things like One Piece, My Hero Academia, it then got to a point where so many people were spamming in the chat, when is Vinland Saga? Stop reading this trash, read Vinland Saga. Stop watching this trash, watch Vinland Saga. Vinland Saga is so much better than these mid-series. Why are you watching this crap? Why am I even watching
the
you?
The good old mid-word, yes.
And it was just like all over the place. So it finally got to a point where I'm like, all right, fine. You guys want me to watch Vinland Saga? I'm going to sit down and watch Vinland Saga. And again, I'm not really a huge seinen person. Like, I like certain things when the violence is there for a reason. Like, I love Attack on Titan, obviously. But I sat down on stream and I watched the very first episode of Vinland Saga. And again, keep in mind, I was being spammed with negative comments. And so I think I already sort of had this bias in my head of like, look, this better be the best thing of all time. Otherwise, like, these people got to sit down and shut up. And so I watched the first episode and I didn't really like it. And I went, I really don't think I want to stream the rest of this. I'm going to watch the rest on my own. People are like, this is trash. Your opinions are trash. You got to at least watch 3 episodes on stream. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to maybe watch it on my own and I'll get back to you. And it became this like torrent nonstop for weeks, literally weeks on my live streams of Vinland Saga fans. People from the Vinland Saga Reddit like spamming my videos with comment section, leaving mass dislikes on things. So it got to a point where I'm like, I'm literally out of principle never going to watch or read Vinland Saga. And then people will then go back and say, well, you're only hurting yourself, bro. You're only hurting yourself. It's like, I'm not hurting myself, because if the fan base is this toxic from the beginning, rest assured, I don't want to get into it in the first place, you know?
Right, so it doesn't help when you're turning off people. And and I'm sad to hear that, because it's like, people need to understand, when a YouTuber, especially at the size you're at, you know, you're doing this full time, you kind of have a schedule going. You can't, there are risks that are a little dangerous to take, because, you know, it could affect like the finances, depending on how well the Vinland Saga streams do and all that. So, you know, when you're doing your own schedule and things are going well, you know, people need to understand that just the fact that you're considering to take your time out of your schedule to create content for it, that should be enough, you know. But
absolutely,
geez, man, if I had known that experience, I would have bumped Vinland a lot lower, because for me, they just like me a lot, because I praise Thorfinn and Oscar a lot.
Exactly.
I enjoyed the series, even though I personally dislike the Viking aesthetic. I've never been a big fan of Vikings and all that. But the other one we had in Wholesome was Slam Dunk. We put Slam Dunk in Wholesome.
Would have been in Wholesome if it was on this list. I would have put Slam Dunk in Wholesome for sure.
Yeah, and then so I'll just run through the tier list, and we can kind of like talk about it, I guess. In chill, now the ones that we put in chill and
that's like the equivalent to my vibing, right?
Right, yeah. Cool. Chill and is like, they're not annoying and cringe, they're just kind of like
It was mid for me. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. So now, some of these I will say in chill, we put them there because we both had limited experience with them, at least on my perspective and end. And Wes was some of the... Okay, so chill, we had the Fate fan base.
Oh my god, Fate was intoxic for me.
Okay, good, because I said I didn't know. I've never encountered any Fate fans, really.
Wow,
Wes told me he hasn't had any bad experiences with Fate fans. Seven Deadly Sins went in chill. I personally... I was like, for me, they should at least go annoying and cringe, because every Meliodas profile picture I run into gives me like a headache. Chainsaw Man we put in chill at the moment.
Seven Deadly Sins was in mid for me, which is the equivalent of your And Chainsaw Man wasn't on my list, but Chainsaw Man is one of those rare instances in which people were spamming me to read it, and weren't spamming me to make videos, but just spamming me to read it. And I finally got to the point where I caught up, and I was like, yeah, I didn't really love it, but I mean, it was fine. Like, I don't regret reading it, and that was fine. And they never bothered me, so I would have put them in vibing if it was on my list, but it wasn't on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, and then for Berserk, I said I had my experiences with toxic Berserk fans, elitists, and all that. And if you're someone who like says like it isn't top 5, then some people will like hound on you for it. But I said for the majority of it, now depressed would have been more appropriate, but we put Berserk and chill. But
I would have put Berserk and vibing as well for me. I have not run into that many toxic Berserk fans. So
okay, gotcha. All right, and now this was the one I said. Okay, now this one I told Wes we're probably wrong for putting Tokyo Ghoul and chill. And I said because Tokyo Ghoul, I covered it, and I was very positive about it. I love the series. So, again, the Tokyo Ghoul fan base welcomed me with open arms.
Sure.
Other than the fact that I butchered Hide's name. I said Hyde, and they didn't stop roasting me for that.
Sure.
But I said, from what I heard back when Tokyo Ghoul first came out, that fan base was horrendous. And everybody in the comments was letting me know, bro, they were like My Hero Academia bad back in their day.
And that's exactly what my experience was with it. It's one of the few like violent series that I actually really enjoy that not a lot of people know that I've read. And that was absolutely my experience with it, despite the fact that I really like Tokyo Ghoul. So I had put Tokyo Ghoul in the sus tier, which is just one above toxic. It's not quite toxic, but it's right above it.
Gotcha. And then we put Code Geass in chill as well.
Yep.
I said the only thing I could see wrong are like the Lelouch fanboys. Like they think that because they like Lelouch, it's the same thing with Death Note fans who, you know, they like Light, and then Hunter x Hunter fans who like Hisoka Cruella, they think they're like rocket scientists and they're big brain and superior. And you could just see the way that they
I mean, it's,
yes,
especially manga readers.
Oh man, so there was that. And then Bleach, Black Clover, and the only reason we put Black Clover and instead of the ones below is because from what I've encountered with Black Clover fans, when I talked about it, they were very excited and they were very happy that I was fair about it and criticizing it because they're so used to so many people just calling that series trash. So I was like, I've personally seen a lot more slander towards Black Clover than Black Clover fans being annoying. That was just my view on it.
That's, I mean, literally, you're 1-to-1 with me right now because Bleach and Black Clover are both in that tier for me as well.
Okay, dope. I put Death Note in there as well.
I did too. That's so funny.
Okay, all right.
I said the only reason Death Note was not in Vibing or Wholesome is because there's like the weird, creepy, quiet kid in high school who's sitting in the back of the room like writing his own real life Death Note, and those fans exist. That's like a subsection of them, and so I knocked it down a peg, sort of for the meme for that. But ultimately, like we all sort of know that guy, you know.
Yeah, the light. Yeah. And then Gintama and Haikyuu were also an but I said for me, from what I've seen of Haikyuu, I was wanting to put them in cringe because some of them, man, they just a little too much. Like I saw a tweet this morning, there's no better antagonist lineup than the one in Haikyuu, and I'm like, now don't get me wrong, but I'm pretty sure like Hunter x Hunter, One Piece, they have some pretty good antagonists, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I was just kind of like,
that's so like, funny you say that
it's one of those. Yeah.
You were obviously on the Manga of the Year stream for last year, but we did one the year prior as well. And during that stream, Haikyuu beat Dragon Ball in bracket, and it was one of the most toxic discussions that has ever been on one of my live streams. And it was just so funny to see. Not to say Haikyuu is not good. I like Haikyuu. I have to completely catch up. I'm not completely caught up. But it was just so funny to see people totally roasting Dragon Ball just out of principle that Haikyuu is the best thing of all time. You know?
Love to see it. Love to see it.
I'm looking in mine. For mid, I put in that same like mid tier, I put Hunter x Hunter. I put Boruto.
Hunter in mid? Really?
Yeah, I put Hunter x Hunter in mid. Yeah. Because I found there's a lot of really toxic Hunter x Hunter fans once you're completely caught up. But on the whole, I think it is one of the most welcoming communities in terms of new people getting into it. I would actually say Hunter x Hunter sort of rivals One Piece in that sense, where I feel like if you're a new fan and you're willing to give this series a chance, there are few fan bases that are as welcoming and as excited for you to experience the whole thing as Hunter x Hunter and One Piece. And I would just say, again, from my own experience, having been completely caught up to both, having covered both, once you're completely caught up, not necessarily the week to week, but like the new video to new video, people who comment on Hunter x Hunter versus the new video to new video people who comment on One Piece, Hunter x Hunter people are a lot more chill. So that's why I put them in mid. But I couldn't discredit the rest of the toxic people that were out there.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. No, me and Wes, we put Hunter x Hunter in Toxic Wasteland in a heartbeat, bro. Because that's why I was shocked when you said mid, because obviously it's a perspective thing. I've covered Hunter x Hunter a few times, one in just one review, and then other times I was talking about an antagonist. I always use it as an example when discussing Meruem, the Phantom Troop, Kurapika. Just obviously Hunter x Hunter is a great and amazing series.
Sure, of course.
But I've seen so much of that blind praise mentality when it comes to Hunter x Hunter. Like, for instance, if I were to be like, Hunter x Hunter for me, artwork wise, is pretty inconsistent, but when it has its banger panels, it has them. I'll give it to Togashi.
Sure.
And they're just like, what? And like, it's just like they're so, oh bro, like you said, and I like you brought that up, because now that I think about it, it is true. Hunter x Hunter is very welcoming to new fans.
Yeah, for sure.
Once you're in there,
you're on. Yeah.
yeah. But that's an interesting disagreement. So then the next tier was annoying and cringe.
Okay.
Now I haven't gone into Evangelion, so but we put Evangelion in annoying and cringe, borderline Toxic Wasteland.
Yep.
One Piece went in annoying and cringe. We were gonna throw them in Toxic Wasteland, but Wes and I said for every One Piece fan that makes me want to like put a bullet through my skull, there's like 3 that I'm really good friends with, so like it balances out. JoJo's is definitely annoying and cringe. At least I've said they definitely can get toxic, but for the most part they're annoying and cringe, and also some of them can be hilarious, especially with like the memes and stuff.
The memes are great.
Yeah. We put JJK in annoying and cringe at the current moment, on its way to toxic as it continues for sure. And we put One Punch Man in annoying and cringe just because of the Saitama can beat everyone fanboys and stuff like that. And then Toxic Wasteland. Or actually, no, go ahead and give what was the ones you had? And
in the sus tier. So for me, we have a lot of similarities in here. I had JoJo in there for the exact same reason that you said, right? Where it's like the memes sort of save them. I got Evangelion in there too. It's the same thing. One that I put in there that I had a lot of people super angry at me for, but it's honestly very deserving, is Your Name. The movie Your Name. And here's my reason as to why.
Never seen it.
Okay. It's a very good anime film. Very good anime film. However, there are so many people who define it as the best anime film of all time. And if you like any anime film, any Ghibli movie, Summer Wars, whatever, any anime movie, if you like it better than Your Name, you're not really a true anime fan. If Your Name didn't make you cry at the ending, you don't deserve to watch anime movies. And I've seen that so many times from anime film fandoms. And we didn't really get into anime film fandoms because I feel like it's a whole nother different discussion. But I do feel like the worst of all of them, far and away, and some people maybe argue Promare, some people would maybe argue some of the Ghibli movies with Ghibli people maybe being a little elitist, but like, no question about it, Your Name fans are the worst. I did a review of Your Name, sort of in the same vein that I did one for One Piece 1000, where I had mentioned, it was a great movie, but it felt overhyped to me. It wasn't as good as everybody was saying that it was. And the amount of hate that I got in the comments section for that video, that I didn't understand what it was going for. It's like, it's a very easy movie to understand what it's going for. At the heart of it, it's a romance film. I mean, there's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
And the amount of people who were like trying to say that I didn't understand really what the film actually meant, when in reality, it didn't click with me in the same way it clicked for other people, and that's fine. There are very few anime film fandoms that rival that of shonen or seinen fandoms, but Your Name managed to do it. In sus, that's actually where I put Tokyo Ghoul. We talked about that already. And I guess the other 2 big ones for me in sus tier are Naruto and Attack on Titan. Naruto is bumped up from sus, from toxic, because I feel like since the series has ended, there hasn't really been as much toxicity. So this is going off of like how things are right now. And Attack on Titan, the reason I put it in sus above things like One Piece, My Hero, ReZero, Dragon Ball Z that are in my toxic tier, is that Attack on Titan at the end of the day, if people know that you're a fan of it and you're being critical, I've never really gotten a lot of backlash for saying, I'm not really sure where Isayama's going with this, or I don't really know if I like this character, or I don't like this character's motivation, and let's talk about that. I think they're a lot more open to hearing it than a lot of the other shonen that are out there, especially like the really big names. So that's the major reason why it was saved. But, I mean, just based off subreddit alone, it had to drop to sus tier.
Understandable. And real quick, going back to what you said, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. Obviously, you were talking about Your Name, and I've never liked that. So there are different scenarios with this, right? Sometimes when someone voices a criticism, and their criticism shows, okay, they didn't understand the series or whatever it was.
Sure.
But when they just say they didn't enjoy it or they didn't think it was that good, it's not always that they didn't understand it. You got to listen to what they're saying, right?
Exactly.
So if someone said, okay, I understand that Guts develops, I understand that Griffith, he has his goals and his ambitions. Personally, I just don't like Berserk. That's cool, right? You understood what the story's about. You just didn't want it.
Exactly.
That's cool. But obviously that's different from someone saying, "Oh, Guts doesn't have any character development." Now you're lying.
Right.
Now you're just lying. But I just never understood that. Again, it's like there's like these default insults that I hear thrown up over and over and over again. It's like,
mid,
oh, this is
trash,
mid.
you didn't understand
it. Overrated. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've heard it a lot before.
Of course. I mean, we're creators. It's at the end of the day, it's the kind of thing where when you go into your comment section, you're constantly, looking at things to heart or things to comment. It's something you see constantly, and there's no avoiding it. I mean, it's just when you do content creation, you are stuck with that.
Exactly. So then, Toxic Wasteland. All right, now you're gonna like this. So Toxic Wasteland, we did have Hunter x Hunter. We discussed this. Yep. We put Boruto in Toxic Wasteland. The reason we didn't put him in Crayon Eaters, although I really wanted to, was because the Boruto fan base does also suffer a lot of hatred from other fans, and many times it's a little bit unfair completely because it's not the worst thing out there. It isn't. But the Boruto fan base is what was it? Someone in the comments said they're what we consider the anime fandom of hype beasts. Like if something gets a new transformation, if it's a good fight, if it's like a cool moment, that automatically makes it a 10 out of a 10 chapter regardless of the narrative. But yeah, and then Wes said essentially all the bad Naruto fans moved to Boruto. That's kind of what happened.
That is exactly what happened, yeah.
we put Dragon Ball Z, ReZero, and Attack on Titan. Now, Dragon Ball Z, the reason why Dragon Ball Z went in there is because of its massive fan base and all of the bad things. Although I did bring up how, and I've tweeted this before, is Dragon Ball is the only thing that can be so iconic within its community, but yet be so slandered if it wasn't the grandpappy of other series. Now, I've always said, even if that is the case, that does not make it free from criticism, but I do find it funny when MHA fans and Black Clover fans want to throw shade at Dragon Ball for doing what they're... I don't know. I've always found that, like, really just dumb.
Yeah, I do feel like Dragon Ball, not to jump away from Dragon Ball too quick, is because I feel like Dragon Ball is a very easy punching bag, right? Because it is the grandfather of all things, and it's not that it's free from criticism, but I do feel like no matter what people say about Dragon Ball, at the end of the day, everyone universally is still going to love Dragon Ball because of that nostalgia that they have for the series. And it's so funny because... Obviously, I didn't mean this in any way to actually upset people, but one of the running jokes during my Hunter x Hunter watch through the first time I was watching this was I would say Hunter x Hunter is better than Dragon Ball Z. I would constantly be saying that. Hunter x Hunter is better than Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
Now, to be fair, storytelling-wise, it's no question. Of course it's better than Dragon Ball Z. But that's like a whole other different discussion. But so many people were going, how could you even say that, man? That's so disrespectful. Like, Dragon Ball is the reason that Hunter x Hunter exists. And it was obviously the kind of thing where it was meant as a joke. It wasn't me picking on Dragon Ball. It's just that ultimately Hunter x Hunter is a more story-based series, and Dragon Ball is about power-ups and hype and power scaling, and that's fine. They're two totally different things. It's comparing apples and oranges. It's when people get serious about these series, and they're actually truly comparing things like, One Piece or My Hero Academia or Jujutsu Kaisen or whatever, that it gets into like just pure toxicity.
Totally, for sure, yeah. And so, when Dragon Ball Z gets compared to something else, it's just ugly whenever Dragon Ball Z is thrown into the mix, and it just is. So then with ReZero, I told Wes, I said, I haven't gotten into ReZero, but from what I've encountered from the fan base, I already don't like it. I was like, I've observed it from afar. and the whole Amelia or Rem thing. And as soon as he heard that, he said, "Oh no, yeah, Toxic Wasteland. The waifu wars were horrible."
Not just waifu wars, but it's the protagonist stuff too. Because I personally do not vibe well with Subaru. I don't really like Subaru as a protagonist at all, and he's getting better in season 2. But I did not like him in season 1, and I was vocal about it when I was doing my reactions. I'm like, I like a lot of the things going on in the story, and it's interesting seeing all this stuff coming together, but I don't really agree with Subaru's motivations. I don't really know like what he's thinking here. You've got these other characters like throwing themselves at him, and he's just sort of like brushing them aside. And again, that's just my own personal take of the series. But the amount of people who are like, Subaru is the greatest anime protagonist. How dare you say something against him? It's like, first off, Subaru is not a real person. He's a drawing on a page. All right. He doesn't need you defending him. All right. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is like ReZero, it's still relatively new in terms of anime, right? Like there's the light novels and there's people who absorbed everything about it already. But for the most part, those of us who are just watching the anime and experiencing it episode to episode, we don't have all of that background knowledge about these characters that you might be coming in with. So it's very difficult for them to, as a content creator who's new to all of it, criticize the series and talk about the series as you're experiencing it week to week when you've got people who've read all the light novels who know every little thing about every little character screaming at you saying, well, you just didn't understand their motivation because they left it out of the anime or whatever. And ReZero definitely belongs in that Toxic Wasteland, man. And I'm saying that as somebody who watches ReZero, so.
Gotcha, okay. It was crazy, so I was actually going to jump into that, so I'm glad you jumped in and brought up the whole protagonist thing, because I was like, many times, and I've discussed it with lots of different ReZero fans, I'm like, okay, is Subaru like the greatest protagonist everyone says he is? And I remember I was in a Discord call, and everyone like at once was like, no, they're hyping him too much. Like he's an A tier for sure. Like that's what they said. He's like A tier for sure. But whether or not he's better than Eren or no, those people need to calm down. Now, Attack on Titan.
Okay, hold on a minute.
No, they were like he's better than Eren and Guts, and I was like, is that how good he is? And then everyone was like, no, they need to stop. But the last one in Toxic Wasteland was Attack on Titan. Now,
sure.
Wes and I we went off about this. The Eren fanboys. Who don't understand that there are other good protagonists out there, right? Like, it's like, yes, we understand that. And again, I don't want to default to this, but you can kind of tell. When you get thousands of comments, you can kind of tell, it's like, oh, no one's even close to Eren. It's like, maybe you need to read more stuff. Then you might find some protagonists that are a little close. I'd argue better than Eren, but Eren is definitely up there in that discussion. Love his character. This was the main thing. The spoiler people. The Attack on Titan and spoilers has got to be they've got to be the worst when it comes to spoiling things. I got spoiled on 7 different things, Roger.
Oh my god.
And
that
five of those, and I'm not gonna say names, and I said this to Wes, 5 of those were from YouTubers who don't know how to not put spoilers in their thumbnails.
Oh no.
So it was like, oh.
I totally understand that though, because maybe for me, because Attack on Titan's monthly, right? Whereas One Piece is week to week. I find that the One Piece people are way worse for spoilers, because what will happen is the spoilers will come out on Tuesday and people will post panels of the chapters, like when the actual panels start coming out and the scans start coming out Wednesday, Thursday, when the chapter officially comes out Sunday, and most of us are following the official release now. So we're waiting until Sunday to do our reactions, and people are like, oh my god, but this thing happened, and they're just spamming it without spoiler warnings. And it's every single week. And whereas like Attack on Titan, it definitely does happen with Attack on Titan, but because it's only once a month, I'm not like as bombarded by it. And the other thing is too, I've always been a manga reader of Attack on Titan. I've always been, like since the first season, I've been reading the manga. So I'm completely caught up on the series. I've seen everything in it. Like I'm watching the anime as somebody who's experienced the entire manga, and so I'm not worried about spoilers. But I cannot imagine being an anime-only watcher, especially with what's going on in the manga right now, and not being spoiled on some things. Yeah.
It was bad for people. It was bad. I caught up on the manga because a lot of people had recommended it, and because I'd already been spoiled on a few things, I was like, okay, I guess I have to before anything else gets spoiled. But it was also the what was it? It was kind of like the ships as well. When it comes to Attack on Titan and My Hero's big one, like shipping this character with that character.
See, it's funny though, because I feel like the shipping stuff isn't really as prevalent in Attack on Titan in a serious way, in my opinion. I think a lot of people, the shipping wars that happen in Attack on Titan aren't like legitimate shipping wars. It's people having a goof and people having a laugh. Whereas like you look at something My Hero or some other shonen series out there, and it's like if you don't agree with this ship, like you're not understanding the series or you're not actually reading between the lines, all this other stuff. Yeah, I think Attack on Titan, it's mostly kind of like
it's funny. It's in a fun. I've seen
like,
that.
Andy and Armin or whatever. That's that kind of stuff. It's not the kind of thing though. I think would ever be taken seriously or should be taken seriously when it comes to Attack on Titan fans.
I only brought it up though because every time I try to do a thumbnail for AOT and I type in Aaron, it's Levi's always right there, and I'm just like, I didn't want to see this. I personally didn't. Kudos to the artist. I didn't want to see it, but like with MHA, it's definitely a lot worse with MHA. If you're gonna
ship Levi with somebody and you want it to be a male ship, you got to do Erwin. Come on. I mean, the dude declared his love for Erwin in the second season. How could it not be Erwin? You know what I mean? More than Aaron. He tried killing Aaron in the first season.
Right, yeah, it's like he beat the crap out of him.
At least it's do like Levi and Erwin if you're gonna do that.
In other words, if you're gonna do a shit, make it make sense. Because I think it was on Twitter. Exactly. It was on Twitter, and it was like, oh, dog, you're gonna be. I don't know if you saw this, but it was bad. Like it was bad. It was like Endeavor and Todoroki, and I was like,
God.
Now, last time I read the series, that was father and son, so I don't know. Period. I just don't think. Anyways, so then in FBI, we didn't throw My Hero in there because My Hero, we already threw him in Crayon Eaters, but in FBI, we threw in the Monogatari fan base. Although you could argue almost any anime fandom belongs in FBI. Just saying. But and then in Crayon Eaters, My Hero, Demon Slayer, Dragon Ball Super, because we distinguished Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Z's fan base.
That makes sense. See, it's funny you guys put Demon Slayer though, because I really do feel like Demon Slayer is one of those series that we talked about earlier, where I see way more hate for it than I actually do people defending it. Like I don't really see a lot of people saying that it's the best series of all time just based on sales. Like I think that happens during sales discussions, and it's specifically to piss off One Piece people. I think that's why. And actually, we kind of skipped past One Piece, but this is like my bread and butter. So I want to sort of talk about this for a minute.
Okay.
The reason I feel like One Piece fans, at least from my own experience, again, as somebody who covers it week to week, are so toxic on social media once you're caught up, is I feel like a lot of One Piece fans were the black sheep of their friend bases during the era of the big three, right? You had Bleach, you had Naruto, you had One Piece. Without question in North America, One Piece was the least popular of those three series. Naruto and Bleach were way bigger. There were a lot of people talking about them, reading them. One Piece did not have the mass market appeal that it has right now. So I think a lot of those fans grew up always sort of feeling like they were the third wheel. They weren't getting the respect that they deserve. Then Naruto ended and Bleach ended. And One Piece fans were like, this is it. This is our time to shine now. This is our time to shine. And a little series called My Hero Academia happened. And then all of a sudden, all of these One Piece fans that waited for their day in the sun immediately got it snatched away from them because it was all this hype of this first season and second season of this anime series that's taking the world by storm. You had My Hero Academia like blowing up in terms of sales, specifically in North America. Still to this day, My Hero is still #1 in terms of sales consistently in terms of North American manga sales. And, you've got a huge fan base specifically coming off of the anime. And a lot of One Piece fans got very defensive. And they were like, well, it doesn't matter because One Piece is the sales giant. It's the GOAT. Nothing's ever going to touch One Piece. And then a little series called Demon Slayer came out and got a really excellent anime adaptation.
Yeah.
And all these One Piece fans who just finished dealing with the My Hero fans, who just finished putting all of them down, then had to deal with this Demon Slayer fan base that went unbelievably mainstream because of that episode 19. Demon Slayer is selling more than any other series in the planet. I mean, literally breaking records upon records. Demon Slayer in the last year in Japan outsold the Marineford year story arc for One Piece in Japan.
Right.
Like, that's how huge Demon Slayer, and it's not even close. It's literally not even close. Multiple individual volumes have done it. And so I think it's the kind of thing then where then One Piece fans are like, well, it doesn't matter because Demon Slayer is mid anyway, so it doesn't matter. GOAT is still the greatest of all time. Go to. And now obviously we're hitting the milestones and we're hitting an anniversary and Demon Slayer ended. And so I think it's only a matter of time for a lot of them to sort of go back to hating My Hero fans. Or, you've seen a lot of it also shifting to Jujutsu Kaisen right now because Kaisen's sort of on an up and up. I think it's ultimately always going to be like that. I think there's no getting that out of the One Piece fandom, specifically the hardcore fandom. I'm not speaking to the mainstream. I'm not speaking to the people who are new, just getting into it. I mean, like, the week-to-week people who read One Piece. I think that is something that will forever be ingrained in them, and there's no way of sort of removing that from their personality if they were somebody who felt slighted that their series didn't get the time and the light that it deserved in North America. Especially because, you know, Japan, obviously, it's the biggest thing since sliced bread. Everybody loves One Piece in Japan. It's huge. It's been huge. One Piece is like nearly untouchable for years and years and years. And, you know, starting with Whole Cake Island, I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this, but like there was a decline in terms of people in Japan really loving One Piece. You saw it in the sales figures. People were sort of falling off of it. People didn't want to, you know, talk about the fact that maybe it was having some pacing issues. You even saw this a little bit prior to Whole Cake Island with like Dressrosa. And then we get into Wano Country, and while Wano, I think now is proving to be like a really excellent story arc, I think even when it was first starting, there were a lot of people who were questioning like, is this really the direction that Oda wants to take this storyline that he's been hyping up for years and years and years? I don't know. And again, more people were falling off of it. Oda was taking a lot of breaks. The volume sales weren't really as high as they once were because there have been less volumes. And I think you could just sort of feel it was sort of on this downward trend, and a lot of One Piece fans ultimately got scared, right? We're so close to the ending, like there's no way this is going to be a Bleach situation, right? We can't let this be a Bleach situation where it just ends quickly. We can't. One Piece has been going on for so long. And I think, again, that's another huge reason why they're so defensive. I think the One Piece fans, I understand why they're in the toxic tier, and I say this again as a One Piece fan, because of everything they've been through over the course of all of these years, but everything that they've been through does not excuse the behavior. You know what I mean?
No, never, right, of course. And the reason, though, that me and Wes put Demon Slayer and Crayon Eaters is, again, and it's all a matter of perspective, but we did bring up for MHA and Demons, any popular series goes through that stupid criticism of, oh, it's popular, it's mid, without any reasonable explanation. But the reason MHA doesn't, I don't think it needs an explanation, right, as to why it deserves to be like Crayon Eaters, bottom of the bottom.
Oh my god, man.
But with Demon Slayer, it was also there because whilst though a large majority of people who aren't just Demon Slayer fans but like Demon Slayer, and a lot of people who like Demon Slayer, they understood the criticisms with the ending, with it feeling quite a bit anticlimactic, majorly, even though Muzan thematically may have fit the series. And not only that, it was a series that at the end of the day, it was just okay. And me and Wes talked about this. There's nothing wrong with being okay as a manga.
Not at all.
Anime-wise, amazing. Banging. Lovely adaptation. Manga-wise, story was kind of, So, but with that being said, again, it's when it comes to those popular fan bases, like you said, providing any sort of criticism is war.
Exactly.
Either you're all for it or you're all against it.
The other thing, too, that I think that's worth noting is that among a lot of these, like, bottom-of-the-barrel fan bases that we've been talking about, I think the reason why they're breeding even more toxicity is because there's so much infighting among the actual fans themselves. Like, people trying to disprove other people from actually being fans, that they don't like it enough. And I think that that is a weird thing that My Hero, to a lesser extent Demon Slayer, but like One Piece for sure, Jujutsu Kaisen, all of these series have that in common. Also, I would even argue Attack on Titan.
Yeah. Oh no, yeah, for sure, Attack on Titan. It's really just, it's nonsensical. It really is just nonsensical because at the end of the day, this is all just anime and manga. So I don't understand, like, the purpose as to why I criticize things, why I review things, why I do videos, was I wanted my channel to kind of be a bridge. I wanted to bridge the gap kind of between seinen and shonen. People who maybe only read seinen, here are some shonens that are really good nonetheless. And for people who've only read shonens, a few of the mainstream stuff, here are some other great mangas that you can get into. And a lot of people have hit me up, DM'd me, left comments, thank you for getting me into the series. I feel like that should be the attitude in which things are done. But when you take this attitude, like you defending your series, or you proving that your series is this level of quality somehow makes you superior to the person you're talking to online. Like you said in your one clip that went pretty big, go outside.
Yeah,
go outside.
That's it.
Please, because we care about you. I care about you as a person. It's not healthy.
No,
go outside.
And I think that's the thing that a lot of these people have to be reminded of too, right? Is because to a lesser extent of what I just brought up with One Piece, they feel ostracized maybe. They don't have a lot of friends in real life that also like anime. So they look towards like content creators who talk about anime as like their friends, right? As the person that they could talk about this thing they absolutely love to because they can't talk about it with anybody else in their life. And so when somebody they see as their friend, as their confidant, as somebody that, you know, they thought was on the same page as them, has some type of disagreement in regards to whatever their favorite thing is, that's where you really jump into the real toxicity. And that's where you start seeing people really turn.
Yeah, now, just to clarify for anyone who's listening, please understand that we're not talking about anime, manga fans in general. We're not trying to overgeneralize. We're talking about the toxicity that me and Roger and anybody else who's experienced it has seen. Like, getting to the root of it, so...
And you don't even need to be a content creator either. I mean, it's something where you could just be like a casual fan of these series on Twitter, right? Say like, oh, wow, the new My Hero chapter was pretty good. And all of a sudden you'll get 20 different people on your thing saying, oh, it was the best thing ever, how dare you? Meanwhile, some of those exact same people are sending death threats to Horikoshi over nonsense. It's like, what is this?
It's the best thing ever, but you didn't do this, so it's trash, and I'm going to send a death threat. You crayon-eating... Yeah, it's just that's why we have crayon eaters. Like for me, it's just
it makes sense. That makes sense.
So then the final fan base was Dragon Ball Super. I don't think I need to explain this one. Wes went off. Wes poured his heart out to me about Dragon Ball Super. He was traumatized, and for him being a Dragon Ball fan, I could feel the pain coming from his soul. And then the worst fan base, we put Naruto, and the reason we put Naruto, and although we both said MHA is definitely on its way and it's already there, we put Naruto because during the prime of it all, it's a series that the fan base just hurts. It hurts. You have, arguably, you still have the nasty ships that you see in MHA done with, like, in Naruto in terms of, like an adult with a child character, you know, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, of course.
And not only that, but you also we brought up the Itachi fanboys. We brought up, like, the people... I said this about the Naruto fanbase. I said part of the reason Naruto, although it gets held, it's used as the bar that new shonens use to compare the quality of its series. Ironically, it still gets slandered. Part of that is because the Naruto fan base called that upon itself. In terms of, you know, the whole real toxicity about talking about Sasuke as a character, back when Obito first popped up, although nowadays me and a few other content creators have kind of helped try to kind of clear the air with Obito after all these years. And then, like, the Sakura diehard fans on Twitter, you know, going on about how she's a great female character, even though what they're doing is comparing her to side characters with no screen time. Like, there was a lot of things in the Naruto fan base that kind of led to us being like, oh, you know what, yeah, we'll just throw it in worst fan base. But I definitely would have put it like Toxic Wasteland.
Because I'm somebody who has very little experience with Naruto, right? It's something that has eluded me for a very, very long time. I do plan very soon to catch up to the series, to actually, like, give it a fair shake and watch the whole thing. Yeah. Based on my little experience with it, it's funny because despite everybody obviously openly talking about spoilers and, you know, talking about things that happen in it, I've remained pretty blind in terms of, like, what to expect with that series. Like, the furthest that I've gotten with Naruto so far is the Kakashi Zabuza fight. That's literally as far as I've gotten.
Land of Waves, yeah.
And I've seen the one episode where it's like the shadow guy fighting the girl with the giant fan. And it was like years ago on
versus
Toonami.
Tamari. Yeah,
there you go.
See,
so you know what I'm talking. There you go. So, like, I've heard names every once in a while. I know Obito is Toby. Like, I know that's a thing, but I don't know, like, who those characters are.
Gotcha.
I know Madara's a bad guy. I know, like, I mean, I know, like, little bits here. And I know Naruto and Sasuke fight at some point and he loses an arm. Like, I know that. But on the whole, like, I really don't know a lot about it. So I was curious, like, if you had any tips for somebody who is new to Naruto, who's getting into it, to, like, sort of avoid the toxicity that you're talking about.
Okay, well, the big thing is, oh man, just don't engage with those fans. Don't do it, because it's one of those things where it's extremes, right? Because certain characters get slandered so much that if you offer a little bit of criticism, they automatically throw you in that slander category. It's a series that, I'll tell you this now, Roger, it's a series that early on and near the middle peaks. Like, that's its best. And if you were to take that alone, most people, I think, would say it's like, obviously, other than the people who just hate on it, it's like a solid 8.5, 9 out of 10 series in that early section.
Is that the Pain arc or the
Pain Assault? Pain Assault. Yeah. So Pain Assault is what's considered the best arc in Naruto, or at least one of, and that's at the beginning of Shippuden, which is like the part 2 of Naruto, and then Naruto part 1 is everything before that when Naruto's more so a kid. All that's considered like top tier. After that, there are a lot of really good hype moments. There's Madara's where he gets introduced and all that, but there are a lot of really iffy narrative decisions. Naruto's like the example for how not to end a series. So it was one of those things where when Naruto's ending happened, it's almost as if everybody forgot all the good things that happened before it.
That makes sense.
Kind of
that makes
the whole
sense.
Thing with, it has a lot of really great characters. A lot of really actually great characters. Great antagonists. But sometimes it doesn't fulfill the most with side characters. It doesn't. It makes some iffy decisions. That's what I'll say for sure. But there's like this very big love-hate to an extreme relationship with the characters in certain fan bases. Again, Sakura being the big one. Itachi fans have quieted down as of more recently. People who hate on Sasuke, those people.
Is Tsunade cool? I like her design.
She's an underrated character.
Okay,
she's
cool.
a
That's
solid
good.
character. She's probably the best female character in the series.
All right, cool. I'll take it.
Yeah. So, you like her design?
I like her design a lot, yeah.
Understandable. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Completely understandable. All right. I do too. Maybe not for. Are we thinking the same reasons? Or
I'm sure we're thinking it too. The same reasons.
Okay. Someone clip this and put it on Twitter so I can retweet this moment. But now I think that we kind of went through all of the things. One of the interesting things to notice is a lot of the ones that are on Wholesome or Vibin are either series that haven't fully exploded into the mainstream or a series with a much older fan base. Like Berserk's been around since 1989. The majority of Berserk fans have kids now, right? And that's not me just like BSing. That's like looking at my analytics, and I know it's not all concrete. Over half of the views is from the age demographic of like 27 and older, something like that.
Yeah.
So it would make sense. It's an 18 plus series, but then you look at the more toxic vocal fan bases. Those are the fan bases with larger fan bases and also ones that are targeted toward younger demographics.
Sure.
So then I don't want to get into this discussion, but then it kind of goes into, people who don't have the maturity to be on social media, constantly being on social media.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point with the age thing, right? And that's something that I always looked into whenever I do my analytics on YouTube. I'm always curious, how old is my audience? And it always surprised me to see a lot of toxicity on a lot of my One Piece stuff, because I would argue of most of the One Piece YouTubers, I probably have the oldest demographic. So my primary demographic overall is 43% 25 to 34. And that's far and away my biggest majority. My second is 18 to 24, and my third is 35 to 44, with a whopping 20%. So it's everything after that is way smaller. And I've noticed that on the One Piece videos, the majority of people who watch them, a large majority, about 70%, are 25 to 34. And then it's the 18 to 24s. So I've always been really fascinated about how so much toxicity is coming from that, when I always assume the same thing that you said, is that the fan base is a lot younger. It skews much younger. But I've found that most of the people that really do watch reviews aren't really people who are younger anymore. It's people who do skew older. And that could be a weird perspective thing from my own channel versus your own. But I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it is odd, because now that I really think about it, that's what made it so odd for me with the One Piece fan bases. They should have an older fan base from what I would assume based off of when it came out and all that, and for how long it's been around and ongoing. But obviously, toxicity isn't exempt from anybody, and it doesn't only pertain to just one age group. But that is a neat, interesting thing. So I guess we can now kind of get into the conclusion of this therapy session and everything, kind of discussing the anime and manga
That's
community.
what you should title this. You should title this anime therapy session or something.
Anime therapy, talking about what's wrong with the anime fan base, feature Rogersbase anime therapy.
Right.
But I guess we were kind of to conclude it all. I think it all goes back to just having a healthy balance and getting into these stories for not only your entertainment, but, you know, if you're trying to get other people's into the series, kill them with kindness.
Right.
If you go around saying that the series they like is mid and you need to get into this series, then don't do that. That doesn't do anything good. And then for some people, they get into a series that's been touted as critically acclaimed, and they automatically turn off their mind. They're like, how can this be better than my favorite series? And they nitpick the most irrelevant things when it comes to that series just so that they don't enjoy it. And sometimes that's done as a reaction from negative. It's just vicious cycle that I understand will never end.
Saga. That is me in Vinland Saga. I can acknowledge that Vinland Saga is a well-made thing, but I will probably never... But I acknowledge that about myself is the important thing. I think that's the important distinction. If you can acknowledge that about yourself, then I don't think it's really that much of a problem. But if you are not able to tell yourself that that's a big reason why you dislike some of these things, then you have like a bigger issue at hand. Again, like what you said too, it comes down to liking what you like. Like, don't let other people's opinions on things color the way that you view your favorite thing. You could still think this series is your absolute favorite series and enjoy listening to somebody criticize it for 30 minutes, talking about why they didn't like it, because it's giving you a different perspective on things, right? And if you don't enjoy that, don't watch those videos. Don't engage in that type of content. If you really just want to blindly enjoy something, just like, go enjoy it. Don't bother going in and trying to defend it. And, adding to the other thing you mentioned as well with, your recommendations, like don't try to turn down other people's series. But in addition, like, you and I probably both can agree on this. We are constantly bombarded as content creators with suggestions for things. Like, read this thing, watch this thing. I guarantee you, every single one of us who does this online that has a relatively large fan base has seen every suggestion. There are rare times, there's like maybe a 1%, 2% chance that you're saying something in the comment section that we have not already heard 100 times before. And so instead of like, and I'm sure you've seen this too, spamming it on all of your videos, you see the same name spamming the same series 100 times. It's like, yes, I know about Beginning After the End. I will get to it at some point. Yes, I know about Hardcore Leveling Warrior. I will read it at some point. I think, even after acknowledging it on multiple streams and saying, I'll get to it, it doesn't help to then badger the creator, because ultimately we're going to do videos, or at least the good people will do videos on what we're passionate about. We're not going to cave to just do something for views. We're going to do something because we finally feel like it's the time to cover it, Right,
totally, yeah. So I don't know if you have any final thoughts, because this is just an overall really just large video kind of being condensed and everything.
Yeah.
So I guess we can just kind of, fully wrap it up now. Simple message then. Go outside.
That's it.
If you need
go outside.
Go outside. Enjoy these stories. Don't ruin it for other people.
Like what you like, man.
Yeah, don't ruin other series for yourself either.
Exactly.
So, Roger, I want to thank you so much for coming on board with me to kind of talk about this and everything. If you haven't checked out Roger's channel, link will be in the description below, of course. And as always, this has been The Masked Man. Hope everyone has a blessed rest of the day, and peace.
Bye, everybody.